Today I'll be talking about one of my favorite artists I have discovered while researching during this project. That man's name is Francisco Goya. Today we'll talk about his famous artwork depicting the disasters of war and briefly talk about the techniques he's used to achieve this. Before we talk about his artwork, I'd like to give a brief history on Goya. Goya was born in Fuentedoros, Spain in 1746. He began his career as a court painter to the Spanish crown. For a while, Goya painted portraits and tapestries until his work took a dark turn due to the horrors of the Peninsular War, leading him to create a series of grim artworks titled The Disasters of War. Slowly, his mental health declined, most likely because of the war, and because of this, he made a series of paintings called the Black Paintings, depicting even more dark imagery. Goya, mainly famous for his work on disaster war, shows his portrayal of human suffering and the legacy left behind on the brutalities of war. The first piece of artwork we'll be talking about is titled The 13th of May, 1808, published on 1814, oil on canvas. Now this artwork was painted at the same time as another similar piece called The 2nd of May, but the main focus would be the painting presented here. This painting portrays Spanish rebels being executed by the French during the Peninsular War as part of the Napoleonic War. The central figure in white, with his stretched out arms in a Christ-like pose, is facing a firing squad, which gives us some symbolism of martyrdom and the innocence of victims of war. This painting features a contrast between the light illuminating the central figures of the Spanish rebels and the row of French soldiers. This event took place on the hill of Principal Pio on the outskirts of Madrid. Goya had witnessed this atrocity firsthand and was able to capture this moment in his art with such emotional intensity, showing us the brutalities of war. This painting has a very lasting impact on art for Goya's portrayal of the horrors of war. Now we'll be looking to the plates made by Goya. The first plate we'll be talking about is titled "And It Can't Be Helped," made through 1810 through 1820, but published in 1863. Goya made 82 prints depicting incidents left behind during the war. The plate in particular we're looking at depicts a blindfolded man tied to a post and waiting for his execution. We also can see corpses that have been blindfolded as well surrounding the central figure, showing us that he wasn't the first nor the last. This dark reality shows the scale of violence during the Peninsular War that Goya was able to capture and allows us to view the effects of war in this timeless piece. Goya's depiction shows the detail of anguish and the realism of war. This is one in many plates that Goya has presented to us and clearly shows us his stance on war, which reminds us the horrors of war and the effect it has on its people. Goya was able to depict these events by making plates and using some techniques that allow him to capture the emotional intensity and tragic depictions of war. First, Goya made the plates by using polished copper and coating them with a layer of wax or varnish. Then Goya used a stylus to scratch directly into the surface to create his art. Then the plate would be inked and use a moist paper placed on top and pressed down like a stamp. And then a print was made from the plate. Now we're going to be talking about another plate titled "Bury Them and Keep Quiet," made through 1810 through 1814. Beyond the battles which impacted the civilians of war show us not just the brutality of war, but the suffrage of its people as well. This plate depicts a group of people burying bodies in a grave with a distraught face and reflects the grief of the people. While the artwork is graphic with a telling story, this artwork shows us rich textures and stark contrast, which allowed Goya to add a shadowy setting the tone and giving it a somber mood to the scene. While Goya used the same techniques as his other plates, this brought artistic innovation with this unaltered reality of the suffrage of war. Now we'll be reviewing the last plate titled "What Gives a Cup," made in 1810 through 1814. Now we're going to talk about this artwork in the aftermath of the conflict and the suffrage among the Spanish people. This plate depicts a figure holding a cup and giving a victim of war some water. This is a powerful message of how a small gesture can help people in their time of need. This depiction shows us the suffering of the Peninsular War victims and the hopelessness they feel, which is a direct result of the aftermath of the Peninsular War. Spain had faced devastation and several shortages of food and supplies, leading to the population to disease, poverty, and social unrest. His work showcases the dehumanizing effects of war on both soldiers and civilians, highlighting themes of helplessness and its brutal conflict. This is just some of the highlights I've picked of Goya's perspective and his powerful portrayals of the impact of war. Through Goya's masterful use of techniques like dramatic chiaroscuro, expressive brushstrokes, and detailed etching, we can see Goya's caption of raw emotions of fear, grief, and despair. His ability to convey raw emotions suffering through masterful etching techniques resonates deeply, making his work a timeless and impactful, which is why I chose these pieces in the first place. It gives us a commentary on the brutalities of wars and the damage to its citizens. This gives me a deeper appreciation to Goya's work and his ability to capture the suffering civilians and soldiers and the atrocities committed by war. These artworks shows us Goya's stance on war, these are and his anti-war statement, making it timeless and setting us a reminder of how harsh war can be.